Mai for all her wonderful posing, and she'll be doing the work on this one, and I, of course, as usual, will be standing behind the camera, chit-chatting away, or maybe helping out, who knows.
I'm ready.
Greetings everyone. So today we're going to do the headlights on this 2002 RAV4. The headlights actually look pretty clear on this, but they are kind of foggy, and it's especially noticeable up here on the side and on top there. I just want to get these things crystal clear. It's better to maintain these things rather than try and restore them when they're completely fogged over. So it's more efficient this way, and it's better for the headlights. They'll look better longer if you maintain them regularly rather than go at them when they're completely destroyed. So anyways, we got two headlights to do. We're going to do a different technique on this one. This is a bit more of an old school technique. We're going to wet sand them using 800 grit sandpaper and work our way up to 2500 grit using lots of water, so we get more of a polishing effect, and working our way up to higher grits which almost have no grit on them at all at 2500. And then we might do a polishing on them and as a final step, and then the very end will be to clear coat them. We have some of that McGuire's UV protectant clear coat, so we're going to use that to finish them off. This headlight's got, I don't know if you can see it, but there's some, you see that little blemish there? Right there. There's some things like that. There's another one up here, which I don't know if I can film. Yeah, you can sort of see that that situation there. So there's a little bit of a, anyways, right there. Yeah, it's hard to see. But there are some blemishes like that on the surface from endless bugs hitting these things over the last 18 years. So we're going to do these headlights up. This one's the worst one. The other one is actually better. The other one by Mai is slightly clear, but again it's got the whole fogging thing starting to happen on it, so it's more maintenance. As I say, these things were all completely fogged up before we did the trip across Canada back in the wintertime, and I stopped for gas twice a day and wiped down the headlights with baby wipes, and surprisingly that did give it a polishing effect, so it worked out quite well. So anyways, and then we're going to use the McGuire's clear coat from this kit. And so this is going to be a bit more involved than what we did with the Echo headlights, and hopefully we'll get even better results with this one, so we'll see. So I will say thank you to Mai for all her wonderful posing, and she'll be doing the work on this one, and I, of course, as usual, will be standing behind the camera, chit-chatting away, or maybe helping out, who knows.
I'm ready.
Good. Enthusiasm. That's important. Okay, so Mai's going to begin the process here. It's a matter of wetting down the headlight. A spray works better, but we did use a spray nozzle on this and it failed on us, so we're going a little bit old school here. I will assist her keeping this thing wet. Once you start sanding it, then the water smooths out a lot better. But yeah, a good spray bottle is the way to go. We left our good spray bottle back at home, and we didn't have time to go back and get it, so we're improvising. So have a good spray bottle to keep your your headlight nice and wet. So she's using 400 grit. We'll go back and forth with this. I think that's about it. Do the side there too, if you haven't done the side yet. Get that all sanded. Do this part, yeah.
You are so tiring.
Okay. Okay, you do that part. Okay, I'm just going to go over this once to make sure. 400 grit's really, really, really coarse, and this is just to try and remove the clear coat from that they put on at the factory. I'm assuming these things have a UV clear coat put on at the factory. So the 400 grit is to remove that and to remove any serious blemishes in the actual paint itself, maybe rock chips or bugs and stuff, minor blemishes obviously. This thing's not going to be, 400 grit's not going to get you through any plastic or anything too deep, but it will remove any surface imperfections. So that's the process here, 400 grit. I know I did say I was going to start with 800 grit, but I realized I had some 400 grit, and I thought, what the heck, let's use that. So, on to 800 grit. I want to remove the stuff from the headlight. Okay, that's good. That's good. Just get all that plastic grit off of there that the 400 grit has brought up. So I get nice and clean, because your 800 grit's going to be finer, and it needs to have a clean surface to properly work, etc., etc., as you work your way through the whole process here. Now, as I go through each level of grit, I'm going to be sanding in more cycles. And what that means is she's going to be wetting down the headlight a lot more. And I'm going to be going over the headlight a lot more times. I call those, that would be a cycle, where she'll wet down the headlight, I'll rub it. She'll wet it down again, and I'll rub it. And with each grit being finer, you need to go over it longer. So you need to do a lot more sanding back and forth. This is not the easiest way of doing this, but this is the way that will give you absolutely amazing results. So for you guys that want to put in the work, this is the process. And the results are amazing. You use the water as a form of lubricant. You do not want to be dry sanding these things. The goal is not to put scratches in them. The goal is to actually remove scratches. So you start off with a 400, but of course it was a wet sand, and that gives you a, that removes hopefully the factory clear coat, and removes any serious blemishes on the surface. Any bugs that are dried on there from 20 years that just aren't coming off when you wash the car, well, that's what the 400 does. And as we work up through each grit, we're using lots of water to keep everything lubricated. And some guys have added soap. We're just using straight water here. Some guys will put a drop or two of soap in, but we're just using straight water. But if you want to add a couple of drops of soap, that's not going to hurt, and that might give you a more lubricant, which is always good. So as I say, each grit you have to go longer. Now I will point out, when I first started, there was a lot of yellowish tint up here, and that's gone. So this process does remove all the sort of yellowishness in the headlights if it's on the outside surface. Any imperfections that are on the inside surface are not going to be dealt with by this process, obviously. Now we're doing 1500. Now you do have a choice. Once we finish, you have a choice of putting a clear coat on. It has to be a UV resistant clear coat. It can't just be an annual clear coat. It has to be a UV one, otherwise it's not going to work and it'll just turn yellow on you. Or another option, if you are a fanatic, is you can leave them bare plastic and apply a carnauba wax maybe every few months. But that really depends on you know, your enthusiasm. As enthusiastic as I am about my cars, I would be more inclined to do the clear coat, because doing the carnauba wax is just another chore to add to the whole experience, right? But it really depends on what you want to do. Yeah, I think this will be almost the last cycle on this particular grit. All the stuff off there. Now it is going to look hazy when it dries. That is normal. Now we're doing 2000. How we doing? Good. So that's the end of the sanding, wet sanding. So now we'll wipe it all down. Dry it. I've got a sponge here. This is a CarPro Clear Cut. Just one of the waxes I use for doing for polishing paint. But this stuff actually works pretty good for polishing headlights as well, as you can imagine. So apply that, and just go back and forth. And this will make the headlight more clear. This will remove the fine 2500 grit wet sanding marks. Just basically any old, I mean, try the polish you have at home. Don't be buying this stuff and whatnot, but this is the stuff I happen to have on hand. I'm not necessarily endorsing this particular product. Just use whatever you got at home. It's just a quick wipe down, not too much. And see, if you have a polishing machine, you can use that. I'm just doing this by hand because I figure hand is what most guys will do. So that looks pretty good, but we're not done yet. We have some Oldshool S30 Plus. This is a much finer polish, and this is going to give us the final polish. Okay, so let's wipe it down, see what we got. What do you think, guys? Does that look like new or what? Yeah, so there you go. That is complete. It's not a lot of work. I think it takes about an hour to do both headlights. And then, of course, we'll follow that up using the clear coat that was in this Meguiar's spray, this Meguiar's headlight restoration kit. We're just going to use the clear coat in this, simply because I have the clear coat. I'm not endorsing their particular products, but we happen to have it. We already got the stuff, so that's what we use to save money. You can go out and buy a clear coat. Just make sure it's a UV resistant clear coat, and there you go. I won't bother showing you us masking this up and clear coating it because, well, it's pointless, but that's what we're going to do. We'll mask around this area and then we'll clear coat it. So we'll come back. So that's Meguiar's headlight coating. Okay, so there's the finished headlight. It's got 2 coats of clear coat on it, but it does look very good. And the part I'm particularly pleased about is the fact there's no yellowing up top here anymore, and there was yellowing before. And I think that's, I've got no complaints about this headlight now. It is absolutely clear and spotless and twinkly, and quite honestly, I would be hard pressed to say this wasn't a new headlight. So, I mean, I'm very impressed. If you do the extra work, you get the extra results. Okay, so there you go, finished headlight. We actually got both of them done now. They both got 2 coats of clear coat. Again, 400 grit, 800 grit, 1000 grit, 1500 grit, 2000 grit, 2500 grit, wet sanding, lots of water. You want the water for lubricant so you don't cut too deep with the scratches. And then I polish these. You don't have to polish them. You can actually just go with just the wet sanding. Once you hit 2500 grit, if you put a clear coat on there, it's going to come up nice and clear like this anyways. But I like the fact it removed all the yellowing, which is really nice. Now that I have these immaculate headlights, whenever I see foggy, messed up headlights anywhere in the parking lots and stuff. It drives me absolutely crazy that people don't restore the headlights to this caliber. So it's kind of a weird thing now. Once you get your headlights looking this nice, you just want to go around and do everyone's headlights, which I'm not going to do, of course, but it's just one of those things you start getting OCD. So I'm Steve.
I'm Mai. Welcome to our channel,
Yeah,
My
thanks.
Sexy Garage.